Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Sturm, and welcome to our masterclass on inflammation and anti-inflammatory lifestyle. I have a guest today who I'm really happy that he is spending time with me also on these live chats a lot. Dr. Max Schubert. Welcome, Max, to this masterclass. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Barbara, for inviting me. Yeah, that's a big pleasure and a big honor for me to participate in your masterclass. We had some really awesome live chats on Instagram, and this will be a continuously good relationship on giving information to our clients and customers.
Yeah, because this information is so valuable, and we had so much engagement on the live chats. So we decided to do this masterclass today so that we all can learn from you, learn together, and also that lots of you can ask questions. I really want to encourage you guys, because I know there's so much we want to ask. Please submit your questions during the chat. We will answer those questions. We will have you live with us in the chat. This should be something where you guys can learn as much as possible, and you should really use the chance to ask all your questions. I just want to do a quick introduction, and then we talk a little bit about inflammation and anti-inflammatory lifestyle, on diet and supplements, and then we go right into all these questions. So what's actually really interesting, Max and I, we have kind of the same background. We're both orthopedic doctors, and we're both working with inflammation. Me in the skin, and Max is working at the Viva Maya clinic in Austria, where you can go and be basically a healthy patient and adjust your lifestyle, your diet. You do a detox, you can get your general checkup, and Max is a really experienced doctor also in the anti-inflammatory medicine, and we both believe a lot and it's scientifically proven that inflammation is one of the biggest problems when it comes to aging, but not just aging, also every disease and every skin condition goes together with inflammation. Inflammation is really something we have to pay attention to. Inflammation is all around us, coming from pollution, from sun, from stress, no sleep, from our diet, from the skincare products we use on our skin. Inflammation is something which really destructs our tissue and causes a lot of problems for our skin, but our overall health as well. And we can try to get inflammation under control. There will be always inflammation in our bodies, but we can try to get it under control. Max, do you want to dive into this conversation and talk a little bit about how you see, lifestyle, inflammation, how it all goes together? What is inflammation?
Yes. Thank you very much for this introduction. Of course, the interesting part about inflammation is that you don't have any problem in your body without inflammation. So this is actually the common cause or the most common symptom on all kind of problem. Doesn't matter if it is on the outside, on the skin, or if the inside, if it is connected to some digestive diseases or problems, or to other problems like pain syndromes like rheumatism or fibromyalgia or autoimmune diseases. So these are all diseases which are connected to inflammation. And there is also one connection which everybody should know about as well, is that inflammation and local acidity is always a connection together. And the acidity itself is actually the main substrate which is constantly feeding the inflammation. And this is the good news and the bad news. The good news about it is actually that we are responsible and we have lots of possibilities to reduce acidity in our system, and of course as a next step reducing inflammation of the body system. That's the main thing behind it. Especially, as you said, Barbara, it's pollution, it's skincare you're using outside if it's the wrong one, it's the diet and the lifestyle, which is all connected to acidity and to a lack of regeneration, of anti-aging, and of the common source of inflammation in the whole body system, which is the common source of our civilization diseases. So, and most of the things we can prevent because it's our decision how we are eating, what we are eating, and of course how we prepare our food, and as well the amount of food. This is the main connection on diet, and this is what we are working at Viva Maya as well, very specialized is on the healing process itself of our gut system, because the so-called silent inflammation, which is also evidence-based nowadays by modern science, is mainly laid in the gut system, and of course causes then inflammation in the rest of the body system. Another interesting fact about this is the more healthy your gut system gets, the less inflammation is in your system. As well as 70 to 80% of our immune cells lies around the whole digestive system, which starts at the mouth and ends at the anus. And this is something which we have to know about. So the more healthy our gut system is, the more powerful our immune system can work on with other problems. And that's why nutrition, diet, lifestyle is so important for our body system.
So we always say, you know, sleep is important and is extra anti-inflammatory. It has to do with cortisol, but also with, you know, our regeneration system. It has to do with, you know, yeah, regeneration and digesting our food, you know, not too shortly before going to bed. So early dinner in relation to early bedtime is anti-inflammatory. How do we see that?
Yes, absolutely right. At night, that's actually the main goal for our body is regeneration. Yeah? And if you don't regenerate properly, then you will have problems during the next day as well. And if you constantly don't have a well sleep, yeah, and don't feel rested in the morning, then it's a sign that your sleep is not been used for the proper regeneration. There are a few simple things you can do for this kind of regeneration. As the word itself shows us that regeneration is meant that we want to regenerate. That means we want to put on our body system as less stress as possible. And the problem is that our food gets digested after a meal in the next 4 to 5 hours and even longer. So things you're eating in average are coming out of your system again as a bowel movement between 12 and 20 hours. So if you have a very heavy to digest meal at night, or if you eat too late, or if you eat, as I said, the wrong things, then your body has to deal with what it has to digest at night, and the body has also to deal with the toxins which are produced of your digestive system because of the fact that your system needs a rest in the early evening. And if you feed your body the wrong way, then this rest will not happen. And suddenly people, mild symptoms is maybe waking up too often, or even going to toilet at night a few times, or snoring is also a thing which I guess lots of couples have already experienced quite well. If you drink some alcohol at night, sometimes people snore more than without. The same is with heavy meals at night, that this is something which we see at our clinic as well. As soon as we teach and learn our people the proper eating habits, that suddenly those minor symptoms are getting better and better. And that's quite interesting to get experienced. And as you said, also the hormones, melatonin is essential for falling asleep. Therefore, we need actually as less light as possible close by. The other thing is Wi-Fi's, for example. So digital detox is also at night very, very important, because these are frequencies which our system recognizes, and then it means stress for our body system. So this is essential as well.
So this means not, sorry to interrupt, but this means not just not look at your phone, because the light of your phone causes your cortisol to rise again, and then you cannot sleep again. So it's like one thing that it wakes you up. At the same time, also, if you have this radiation around you, I think this is something which also disturbs your sleep cycle, right?
Yes, absolutely right. Wi-Fi's have to be shut down ideally at night, yeah, so that you, if you turn on your mobile phone, the ideal version would be not to find any Wi-Fi close by, and then afterwards at least put your phone in flight mode, but the best would be even turn it off, and don't have those things in your room. The same is a television itself. Even the small red light is already something which our system recognizes, yeah, and is a disturbing field, yeah, and that's why sleep is for regeneration 100% the most important thing. And that's
also the Apple TV on the TV, when this is on, it also always radiates with the Wi-Fi. So if you have Apple TV in your room, I think this is also disturbing your sleep. So it's always best to do this electric detox in your bedroom.
Yes, absolutely right. Yeah. And, interesting was once I've even learned something, of course, from you as an expert on skin. Yeah, I was really impressed about the fact that the light of a mobile phone, especially of the smartphones, is even more toxic to our skin than the sun itself. Yeah, or at least the same toxic to our skin.
It's interesting because you don't get phone burns. You know, you don't get burns. You don't see like this effect, but the effect is there because there's a different wavelengths than the sun, but it's same aggressive and penetrates deep into skin layers. You know.
A big disadvantage as well is that you can't produce out of the light of a cell phone any kind of vitamin D in your skin, which is absolutely essential as well to help your system to normal regulation, to immune power, for reparation processes, for energy processes. This is one of the very essential vitamins our system can produce by itself. And that's why you need on one hand sunlight, but most of the time people are not enough in the sun, so they even need supplements for vitamin D's. But
what about sunscreen then? What with sunscreen we exclude the sun from our system. Yeah, so if we sunscreen, if we wear sunscreen nonstop.
Yes, I mean, sunscreen has, of course, an advantage when you are going into the sun. It protects your skin and gives you, of course, some protection for skin cancer. If you use the proper things, you have always to check the ingredients. It should be as natural as possible. But the higher the LSF factor is, yeah, the light sun factor, then the less vitamin D production will happen. For example, if you have LSF6, yeah, which would be only using, for example, olive oil as a sunscreen, or coconut oil, which is of course some light protection for the sun of skin damage through sunlight. But the problem is you only produce 20 to 30% of vitamin D by such a low factor against sun. And that's why sunscreen means using sunscreen, which is very important on one hand, means as well that you might need some supplements for vitamin D as well. Because I have lots of clients living in very sunny countrysides, living, for example, in California as well, where you have lots of sun in comparison to some parts in Europe. And they still have very, very low vitamin D levels, although they have really a very nice sun-tanned skin.
Yeah. So this is really interesting that we, on the one side, we want to protect ourselves from the sun because obviously it causes a lot of oxidative stress. It causes lots of damage to our skin. So I think we need to find a balance how we can get a little sunlight and are protected from the sun damage for sure as well. And one thing which I think is really important part here is also skin barrier function, that we really respect our skin barrier function and our skin as a protection tool, as a fortress, as something which actually keeps also stressors from outside out of the skin. So if we damage our skin barrier function, again through inflammation, again through acid peels, for example, putting like ingredients on our skin which can damage our skin barrier function, then of course sun pollution, HUV light from the phone can penetrate our skin way more easily and way more brutal. And there we definitely have to always, day and night, we have to use a sunscreen, we have to use an HUV screen. It's really important when we use all those inflammatory ingredients to protect our skin through cosmetic products.
Yes, absolutely right.
So, yes? No, you talk.
To come back as well again to nutrition and especially to inflammation again, is I think we should pass also some advice to our customers here and clients. What about the lifestyle habits and especially the eating habits, which are very essential? I got a few questions in advance, and actually most of them can be answered by just using the so-called Viva Maya golden rules, for eating in a proper way. What do I mean? First of all, actually, we should chew our food. That's 100% one of the most important, and it is the first step of a healthy journey. And when I'm talking about chewing, I'm talking about 40 to 60 times each bite. That's the minimum. Even if you want to chew.
I adjusted my carrot chewing ever since we talked. I'm chewing my carrot and I'm chewing this carrot forever. Ever since we talked, I pay a lot of attention to that.
Yes, so nuts and carrots, of course, are things which you can chew even 100 times and more to bring it into a proper purpose. So it's good.
By the way, there was just a question about sunscreen, if we need to use sunscreen also indoors. I want to say if you use just to get this out of the way, if you use acid peels, you need to wear sunscreen no matter what, glycolic, retin-A, all those ingredients need to be protected with sunscreen all the time. If you have healthy, strong skin barrier function, of course, when you're inside, you're not using sunscreen. But when the sun is out, for example, and you're inside and the sun blasts through your window and you're sitting in it, the UVA radiation still goes through the window. You need to protect your skin. But as I said, you need to figure out how healthy is your skin, and if you can cross the street with no sun protection, fine. But if you're in the sun really, and in California, this is here happening on a daily basis, you need to protect your skin with a sunscreen.
Yes, that's correct.
Back to your diet.
Yes, back to rule number 2. Rule number 2 is stop when you're satisfied. Very important. It's not about getting your stomach full. It's a very special feeling and sensation which is called satisfaction. Normally, lots of kids, actually all kids know this kind of feeling, especially those who got breastfed when they have been very, very small. Then of course they stop drinking, not because the breasts are empty, they stop drinking because they are satisfied. And this is something which is what we get trained off, because during our education, most of the time we get advices of you have to finish your plate, because maybe some poor people would starve to death because you're not finishing it. That's something which you hear in Austria quite often, or in Germany as well, but I'm pretty sure in the US you hear it as well. The other thing is the weather gets bad. If you don't finish your plate, there will be no sunshine on the next day. So these are some educational trips which everybody gets during their life. And the problem is, so we learn step by step, even in our childhood, that we have to finish the plate. The problem is we get bigger and bigger portions, and then you are somewhere where you don't want to be impolite, and you get a big portion and you want to finish, because when you have finished your meal properly, then it's a sign of your food was good. Of course, the problem is always if you finish everything on the table, then sometimes it means as well that there was not enough food there. But that's not the truth. You really have to learn what is your satisfaction level. And the best way to learn this is by doing maybe a day or two experimental fasting, where you just have maybe a little bit of food if necessary, or even better just to have a broth, ideally a vegetable broth, because the vegetable broth is very alkaline as well, more than of course chicken broth or bone broth, for example. But this is also depending vegetables you put into your in your broth itself. Yeah, but the normal vegetable broth is very alkaline. And after these days, try to go back to a meal and really try to listen to your body. And then you will find out that maybe a portion which you normally order in a restaurant, or which you normally get served, that you'll eat at least only half of the portion, or even a quarter of a portion, of being satisfied. Of course, if food is tasting so well, then it's quite hard to resist. But you always have to be aware of, the more you eat, the more maldigesting you will have in your gut system. And maldigesting, even with the best and most healthy food itself, will cause at the end toxins and irritation and inflammation and acidity to your system. And that's the main problem. So once again, rule number one, chewing. Rule number two is stop when you are satisfied. Another important thing is, don't drink together with your meats, especially no drinks which you don't have to digest. So any drink which has 0 calories, and I'm not talking about drinks which are artificially sweetened and are then 0 calories, because these artificial sweeteners are even worse than normal sugar. So there you have to be careful as well. But ideally, you should not drink with your meals. Of course, it's on Sundays, for example, I really love to have a glass of orange juice with my breakfast, and this is maximum amount, 200 milliliters up to 300 milliliters of a liquid which has to be digested is possible. The same is if you have a soup, there is also more liquids inside, so you don't have to worry about eating a soup. But don't drink water with your meals, because they only dilute the digestive enzymes. And I always compare it here in Altosee at Viva Maya. We are right next to a lake. If you have a glass of digestive enzymes, and if these are your enzymes, and you put this glass of enzymes into the lake, you still have the same amount of enzymes, but suddenly you have a different concentration. And then you don't digest food as properly as with a high concentration. And the liquid, the digestive liquid itself, is actually made by our body system in the perfect way, so we don't have to dilute it for proper digestion. Another thing is, nothing raw after 4. That's rule number 4. It means at night you should not eat raw stuff, because raw stuff is very hard to digest and our gut system wants a rest. So after 4, please don't eat anything raw. And the 5th rule is, try to have as less food as possible after 5 p.m. because similar to the 4 o'clock rule with raw, is after 5, our gut system wants ideally a rest. And if you feed your gut system and your digestive system, of course, you give him some extra work. I do know in modern life and with our social life, it's quite hard not to eat at night, but try to have it as early as possible, as close as possible to 5 p.m. and try to have as easy digestible food as possible. And maybe you can skip dinner, which is the perfect version of intermittent fasting, that you skip dinner and then you have an optimum possibility as well. Yeah. Okay, so this is something which is rule number 5. Yeah, and once again, to give you more explanation about rule number 5 is that at night, if you don't believe me, for example, even in Chinese medicine, and this is a traditional medicine over the past 2,000 and even 3,000 years, it is absolutely normal for them that our digestive system, it's empirical science, which is also evidence-based. It shows really that our gut system, our small intestine, large intestine, also our gallbladders, which is producing the bile, our stomach needs a rest at night. Yeah? Yeah, these are the main
Four
Viva
rules.
rules.
Four rules.
No, it's
I feel like now when we are in quarantine, I think we can adapt more to this kind of lifestyle, this anti-inflammatory lifestyle, having early dinners, going to bed early, avoid, watching TV at night, really trying to bring down stress, doing maybe some exercises in order to cope with stress, which we all, of course, have because due to, economy and, everything going on. But I think right now it's really the time to also have a healthy diet and, do all the things you're just suggesting, which totally makes sense. And I think everyone who's listening in would agree on that. So I think that's really great. And another thing we should maybe, because lots of questions about supplements and what do we need to supplement from outside? What do we get through our, nutrition through our food? What do we not get? We just talked quickly about vitamin D, which might be deficient because we don't spend so much time outside and protect always with sunscreen. So what are the supplements which are absolutely necessary for us to have in our daily routine?
In general, to have a proper diet means as well to have organic, seasonal and local food. Yeah? That's another important thing, because then you have in those food, you have a really good possibility to get lots of nutrients for your diet itself. Yeah, that's something which is important. Yeah, the other thing is, of course, there are some basic supplements which you can use in general. First of all, I would everybody recommend to check your mineral levels, your vitamin levels at least once a year. As if you have a healthy lifestyle, if you don't have any diseases, a checkup at once a year, maximum twice a year should be more than enough, because you should actually know exactly what kind of minerals, what kind of vitamins or where does my body needs support with. Another thing is, if you want to use supplements, you have to find out what is it a very good brand or is it not a good brand? There should be in any of a capsule, tablet or anything, there should be never an ingredient which doesn't have a purpose for your body. Because very often there are ingredients inside which are necessary to produce supplements in a cheaper way, which are necessary to produce it in a special way. For example, if you have vitamin C tablets which are solved in water, you need some special ingredients that this is possible to be made. But these ingredients are something which you don't need, because if you want vitamin C, try to take a vitamin C capsule in the right amount and have it together with your meals, and then it is possible to get resorbed as well. Of course, the coating of also the capsule itself ideally should be a cellulose kind of capsule, yeah, which is possible for non-liquid capsules itself. And then it's just actually nothing which gives our system a problem. So please, if you use supplements, always check first if this is a good brand or not. Quite new, for example, there is a brand which is coming to the US market itself. It started in California already, in Los Angeles. It's Biogena. It's one of the supplements we are using here in Austria as well, because it's an Austrian brand too, and we know exactly that they use ingredients only which are necessary for your system. And America, that's something. Also, the supplements Barbara produces is as well supplements which don't have any ingredients, which don't have any purpose. So these are also very good supplements. So these are a few of them. So that's really essential as well, yeah, to be used in a proper way. If you have multi-preparations, which are sometimes absolutely necessary, then please use these. You always should be aware of that these multi-supplements, as multi-ingredients, never have the possibility to fill up the deficiency, or only very slowly, but they have a special purpose in the combination, because sometimes you need out of the best of few different herbs plants, some other ingredients, some extra minerals or vitamins, and the combination helps your system to work in a proper way. You need them for skin repairment, you can need them for stress organs, you can need them for vision, you can need them for special diseases, for liver detoxification. Sometimes you need some amino acids as well. So there are lots of possibilities. A multivitamin and mineral supplement can help you to get a baseline, but it doesn't replace sometimes to check your system on once to twice a year.
It's really good to check before taking like just supplements, just to take supplements. I think it's really, because you also can overdose supplements, right?
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Yeah, as overdosage with some supplements can really cause even problems to diseases. For example, vitamin C, yeah, is now very important together with Corona to give your immune system a really good boost. But if you take too much of it, what are the side effects? The side effects is, first, you get bloated. Yeah. Second thing. Second thing, you get diarrhea, and then you know exactly that this dosage is now for your body not enough. I give you an example. Normally 2, maximum 3 grams a day shouldn't have any side effects on vitamins on your gut system. If you are getting sick, like a cold, a flu, or if you're unlucky and you get Corona, for example, then you might need a dosage 6-8 grams, and you still don't get diarrhea or bloating, because then suddenly the system resorbs more of the vitamin C because it needs more. But if you want to get the same amount out of nutrition, we are talking about eating maybe 2, 3, 4 pounds of apple a day, yeah, and this amount is something which is not working for your digestive system, because it can't be digested and you cause maldigestion.
This was a really good explanation why and when we need more supplements and when less. So it's really important that you have someone who advises you how to take supplements in the correct way. I created supplements around, obviously, around an inflammation. So when I discovered this herb purslane is an amazing herb, and it's so rich on so many vitamins, but also it's telomerase activating, it's wound healing, and it's antioxidant. It's just a powerful herb, and I wanted to not only have it for all my skin cells, because it's in every single of my skincare products, but it's also, I wanted it for every cell in my body. That's why I put it in a supplement called Skin Food. Skin Food is a supplement which helps for the inner hydration. So we put in ingredients to build hyaluronic acid. So if you give your body hyaluronic acid to drink, it's very difficult for the body to digest it. If you give your body the ingredients to build hyaluronic acid, it's like a firework. It takes it and it builds it. And hyaluronic acid is important for your eyeballs, for your skin, for your joints, for everything. And this supplement also has glutathione, CoQ10, we talked about this the last live show, telomerase activator, astragalus, astaxanthin as a super powerful antioxidant. So this is a really good supplement if you want to also work to firm your skin, to hydrate your skin and your body, of course, and help with telomerase activation. And then I created something called Sleep Food. If you cannot sleep, it's a really nice herbal combination to help relax and fall asleep easier and get a better valuable sleep. Then we have the anti-pollution food, which is 5 adaptogens, ginseng and vitamin E for your immune system, but also to adapting to stressful situations. Then we have a repair food, which is also rich on thyme, rosemary, sage, super anti-inflammatory. And then also from herbs from the garden, brightening food to help with hyperpigmentation. These are like things which help with inflammation and with your immune system. So this is something totally to add to your supplements. But for the normal multivitamins, as Max also said, I think it's really important to check your blood levels first and help. So someone asked Max, and this is a good question, a good day of a diet of a day. So what's a good day and what should we eat in the morning, for lunch and for dinner?
Yes.
And should we snack? And should we snack? We actually have that.
I will answer this question in a second, but I got a question as well written down that somebody asked for example, supplements for colitis ulcerosa, yeah, which is a gut disease on inflammation, and I want to give a brief answer as well. Of course, you have to find out with that kind of inflammation what is the common cause, but in general, there is an amino acid which is called L-glutamine, which is helping actually regeneration of the mucosa skin, which is of course something which I can recommend. Another thing is omega-3 oils are essential for local inflammation in the gut system. Please be very careful of using the proper supplements, because omega-3 oils, if you use them, for example, out of fish oil, you have to be careful about pollution. The other thing is on omega-3, the ideal version of omega-3 in our mind at Viva Maya is linseed oil, or also called flaxseed oil, yeah, because this is really highly locally anti-inflammatory. We use it quite often and very successfully for any kind of colitis syndromes, and also, for example, for one of my kids I have been in charge of in my private office, I used it as well for the skin, for neurodermatitis, yeah, which helps locally really well to help them against itchiness and inflammation, because omega-3 is really very, very important for gut. A
lot of omega-3 fatty acids are in purslane, by the way.
Yes, that's another thing. Parsley is also
Purslane's amazing.
Yeah, which is also, you can also make a kind of a pesto by mixing it and put it locally on the skin.
You can make a smoothie.
Yes.
But you know, about smoothies, there's a whole other thing Max has to say about
as well. And one supplement for the question again is also zinc. Yeah, zinc is also very important for reparation processes, and
also for acne. If you have acne, zinc is amazing. Yes. It's in our repair food, guys. Zinc.
Yes.
So repair food.
Other things.